Welcome to the Survivor's Chair podcast, a podcast where we break down our stories and our trauma, understanding how they have impacted our career and our life. This is a place where we break free from shame, own our truth, and step into our power, one story at a time. Hi, I'm Kim, an adoptee, a former foster youth, hairstylist, salon owner, breast cancer, and complex trauma survivor. So join us, pull up a chair, in this no sugarcoating, no holding back, honest conversation about healing and success. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of the Survivor's Chair podcast. If you don't know me, I'm your host, Kim Russell. I am a hairstylist, I'm an adoptee, I'm a writer, I'm a speaker, and I am certified in traumatic research studies, which means for the past 4 years, I've been working really hard, and I have 21 different certificates in the trauma world, including childhood trauma, attachment theories, internal family systems, EMDR, sand play therapy, the smart theory therapies. So anyways, I've been very busy and I know I have a lot more to do, but that's what I've been doing for the past 4 years. I'm a hairstylist. I still work 2 days a week. I absolutely love what I do. I have been honored to do some workshops at beauty shows. The Pennsylvania Beauty Pros Expo was unbelievably soul-filling on trauma and the impact trauma has on our life, our business, our careers, our relationships, how it kind of wiggles its way in and you don't even really know it, and your story is what's running the show. So what I do is help you rewrite that story and understand what's going on in the subconscious and in the brain and in the body and the nervous system and all of those things that's driving that trauma to run your life. So today we're going to kind of finish out this series that I had. We talked about the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn nervous system. If you haven't listened to the past episodes, I would go listen to it. We talked about the nervous system and how that works and how it operates and how it's impacted by trauma. And last week I talked about the brain, and I did try to keep that one a little shorter because that's a lot, and just how the brain is impacted by our trauma. It changes the way our brain develops. If you have some things that have impacted you because of your trauma, it's not your fault. And I think that's what I want to get across to just about everybody is you're not broken. It's not your fault. And there's ways that you can change and have a much more peaceful life. So today we're going to talk about the body. And I have to say, this has been the most eye-opening thing for me. It's all eye-opening, but this has really been eye-opening as far as the impact it has on me, my nervous system, my thoughts, how I feel, how I go about my day, how I treat my body now, how I listen to my body now. So we're going to talk about embodiment, and maybe some of you have heard that word before and you know what it means, and maybe you've heard the word but you don't know what it means, and maybe you've never heard the word. What embodiment is, it's just being present in your physical body, not in your head. All of us can get very, very, very heady. We analyze things, we do this, and we're not listening to our body. So it's learning how to be present in your body. It's noticing sensations that happen in your body. What feels good? What doesn't feel good? I talk about like that stomach distress or the clenched jaw. I think those are two things that we can all kind of relate to. It's about feeling those sensations when they're happening and understanding why they're happening. And that's one thing I will keep saying forever. It's like understanding the why is so crucial to all of this. For me, I did not listen to my body, ever. I didn't pay attention. My stomach was always upset, and I was in my head all the time. But yet when my boundaries were crossed, or I was doing something that I didn't want to do, that people-pleasing thing, I felt it always in my stomach, always. My jaw was always clenched. I didn't pay any attention to that because I was too busy people-pleasing. but I was going against myself. I was going against what I truly wanted and needed. My jaw was clenched and my body was telling me that I needed to speak up, find my voice. But my fear of abandonment and not being liked completely overrode my body and what it needed. So embodiment is about connection. And it's about trust. And it's about connecting back to your body, or maybe for the first time connecting to your body and learning to trust it. And it's like everything else that we've talked about, the nervous system, the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, the brain, it's all connected. And our trauma has taught us how to be in our body. It's taught us to protect our body. So that's what we do. And when we're protecting our body, you might feel numb or kind of checked out. You might be tired. You might have like tightness or clenching, like I talked about. And that tightness or clenching might feel normal. You might not even know that you're doing it until you finally learn how to connect to your body and relax. But what's happening is that your body has learned to survive in whatever way it can. It's learned to survive. So when you start working on your body, like sometimes for the first time in your life, it can feel super vulnerable and completely unsafe because you're taking that protection down. So it can feel unsafe and even a little bit overwhelming. This is because our trauma doesn't live in our mind. We might talk our story and say our story, but that trauma doesn't live in our mind. It embeds itself into our body. And the embodiment, the foundation of embodiment, is self-awareness and nervous system regulation. That's why it's so important, I believe, to get that nervous system regulated, and moving your body and finding that connection with your body can really help that a lot. So how does trauma show up in our bodies when we're disconnected from it? You could numb out, or, if you've ever been on, shall we say, autopilot, going through the motions, you keep moving, keep working without feeling yourself in the process. Like you're just going through the motions. Disconnection can also show up not noticing when you're hungry or when you're full. I mean, I've never noticed not being hungry. I've definitely not noticed being full and have overeaten many times. You could feel detached when you're talking to somebody, like you're just not there in the conversation. And this can happen when you're doing an activity too, like you're just not there. You might have trouble describing physical sensations. Again, this is just your body and your brain and your nervous system and all that stuff adapting to survival. Now, when trauma has occurred, especially in childhood trauma, the body lives in a space a lot of the times in fear or in violation. So numbing out and disconnecting can feel safer than feeling. And I totally get that. I do believe 100% that the body holds memory. And I write about it in my book. And I talk about there being trauma chips that live everywhere inside my body. And these chips have all of my traumatic memories stored in them. A lot of people would say, if you don't know, I was abandoned in a car at 1. I was in the foster care system for 4 years and then adopted at the age of 5. And a lot of people would say to me, oh, it's so good you were so young. You were only 1. You don't remember anything. So it didn't affect you at all. And that is so wrong. That is so very wrong, because I could and I can still feel what it was like in that moment to sit in the back seat of that car alone with the fear and anxiety building with every minute that went by. I might not have an exact picture of what happened, but the feelings that were there when I was in the back seat of that car stayed with me, and I carried that intense fear throughout my entire life. And I still have moments where that fear can be triggered. I was talking to Dave, my other half, the other night, and we have these new Ring cameras on the house. My house was broken into twice when I was younger when we were home. So I have this fear. I don't leave windows open. I don't leave doors unlocked. I don't even leave my car unlocked in my driveway, even though it's probably safe, but I just don't. If I'm on the first floor, I don't care if it's 110 degrees out, I am not opening the window. It's not happening. So that is my fear, right? So I have to be logical about what that fear is. And sometimes you're not that logical. So now these Ring cameras are great, right? you get the notifications when somebody's there. You want that. But every time my Ring camera goes off and it's an odd time, or I'm going to say basically most of the time it goes off, it literally sends a shock of fear through my system that somebody is outside walking around my house. Now, sometimes it's Dave going to work, Dave coming home from work. So this new thing that I have is triggering these old feelings in my body. So I have to reassure my body. I have to tell myself that I'm safe and tell my body that it's okay. It's okay. I'm not that 12-year-old kid that heard the glass break when I was in bed. That's not what's happening. So it's this event that's happening now, but it's triggering the same response that I had when I was younger. Probably much younger, probably way before I was 12. So it doesn't take me too much now. I can just do a couple deep breaths and reassure myself that I am safe and nobody is here to kill me. So this stuff can happen even if you don't remember an event. Like all of a sudden you just get this shot of fear or anxiety or panic and you don't even know where it comes from. I say it's these little trauma chips that are embedded in our body that sometimes we just don't even know they're there. So for embodiment, to truly feel your body, it requires you to slow down. So where are all my people out there that don't stop ever? I was guilty of that too. But if you don't slow down, you can't listen to your body. So slowing down is essential, but it can be really hard when your whole life you depended on survival. You're used to saying alert, like hyper alert, busy, crazy busy, moving all the time, or you're shut down. I do want to talk about that hustle culture for a minute, which I was completely caught up in. And I want to throw in a little bit of toxic positivity, which I know I've talked about a little bit on here. But when you're in that hustle culture, like you're taught to be in your head. You're not taught to be in your body for a second. You are taught to keep going, to override everything that's going on in your body, to push through it all. You're tired, you're hungry, you're exhausted, you're stressed. Just keep going. Just keep pushing. Keep going. And women, it's men too, but women with full-time jobs and kids and work and stress and the home and cleaning and cooking and laundry and da-da-da-da-da. And hopefully you have a partner that helps you with all those things. But if you don't, there's so much on women and we just push through it. And that's why 80% of all autoimmune diseases are women, because our body is screaming at us to stop. And women also hear this toxic positivity that, oh, you're so strong. I know I've talked about this before, but oh, you're so strong. Don't cry. Don't cry. There's nothing to cry about. Fake it till you make it. Keep going. And this happens all the time, especially if you're in some kind of high stress or leadership role. You got to keep it together. Everybody's watching you. Leaders aren't allowed to fall apart. Another topic for another podcast. You can just see how we protect our bodies from feeling. Just stuff to think about. Another way of disconnection is overthinking. For all my overthinkers out there, you ruminate on everything, you analyze everything, but you struggle to feel what's actually happening in the moment. You're replaying a conversation over and over in your head, trying to analyze it. At the same time, your stomach's in knots and you're feeling anxiety. Your fists are clenched or your jaw's clenched or whatever. You're not paying attention to the moment or what's behind those feelings of panic and anxiety. So we're missing the cues from our body. Even though it's screaming at us, we're not paying attention. Another thing is when you're disconnecting from your body, you could skip meals and then binge. Again, push through exhaustion until you get sick. Guilty. Maybe you struggle to relax. You can't be calm. It used to be me. And when I tell you that my body kept telling me to slow down, to take care of myself, to get rid of the stress, or at least learn to manage it better. But I didn't understand that it was stress. I was just at this high, hyper vigilance, overstimulated kind of place in my life that I couldn't listen to it. I didn't. It's all I knew. And it took breast cancer for me to finally stop. Nothing else would get me to pay attention to it. Nothing. I have the perfect example of me being disconnected from my body. So back in 2008, this is story time. Back in 2008, I was taking care of my sister-in-law who was dying from breast cancer. First, let me say one thing. She was not my sister-in-law. She was my sister. We were so, so, so close. She was amazing. But when she was sick, I showed up every single morning at her house between 4 and 5 a.m. because she was sleeping in a chair and I knew she had to get up, and I wanted to get her settled before I got the kids off to school, got my niece and nephew off to school. I slept with my phone under my pillow, with my head not even on the pillow. Like my head was about an inch off the pillow, never laid on the flat on the pillow. So I was never fully sleeping. I was sitting there waiting to get that phone call if I needed to get over there in case they needed me. At the time, I had my business, my salon. I was working every single hour it was open. At that time, it was open 60 hours a week. That was what I worked behind the chair. And then I did all administrative work. I just didn't stop. I had 13 employees at the time, all with a different set of stuff. If you have employees, you know how that goes. I was training new vocational school graduates, which I loved, but that was on my plate also. And I was doing triathlons. So that summer of 2008, which was so stressful, and my sister-in-law passed away in October of 2008, I did 9 triathlons that summer, all different sizes. Olympic to half Ironman. I did go on to do an Ironman in 2010. I did double workouts at night. I would swim and I would run. I would run and I would bike. On the weekends, I would ride my bike for 60 miles. Then I would go over to my sister-in-law's and grab the kids to do something fun with them. I wanted them to have fun. I wanted them to be able to have fun even when it was hard, and it was hard for them. But I was physically and emotionally exhausted, and I did not know it, and I did not pay attention to it. And for the record, I was also drinking my fair share of wine, which was a lot. And my marriage was falling apart and was on the brink of divorce. It was over by the time my sister-in-law passed away. But the point is that I kept going. I did not feel the signals from my body. I had to disconnect so long ago that I was conditioned to be numb, to not feel. And that's what I did. And not only was I running around, but I was working out in a stressful way too. I was working out in a way that stressed out my body, didn't calm my body, kept me in that high cortisol, fight or flight mode. But it might sound kind of weird, but that was the only way I could feel. If it was that intense, then I could feel pain. It was physical pain, but at least I felt something. I wasn't numb. I used to say like, oh gosh, I would be in the middle of a race. It's like, you could chop my arm off. And I would say, wrap it up, and I keep going. And that is the truth, because I wouldn't have even felt it. Like I was so disconnected. People used to call it focused, or you're in the zone or whatever, but it was really a disconnection. I was conditioned at a very young age to shut off every feeling that I had. The only thing that I could do or feel was survival, the fight or flight. That's all I knew. Even though my body was screaming for me to listen to it, I just exercised more, trained more, downed a little bit more wine so I wouldn't hear it. Make it go away. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, but that badge of honor that some of us wear or have worn because we don't sleep, we work 100 hours a week, we get up at 4 a.m, even though we're exhausted. We keep going for 18 to 20 hours out of the day. It's not that you're a high achiever, which is what everybody's told. It's that you're running. You're running. We're running from ourselves. We're running from something. We're pushing something away. We don't want to feel something. And I challenge you on this because maybe you are a high achiever, but I still challenge you on this. Can you slow down? Can you be in quiet? Can you be in peace? Can you connect to your body? If not, then I would reevaluate that high achiever status, because there's nothing harder than being still, nothing harder than feeling, which is why most of us don't do it. And there's no judgment for me because I didn't do it for years. And I'll say every single podcast that awareness is 90% of the solution. 10% is doing the work. But once you're aware of your habits and what you're doing or what you've been running from or what you're avoiding, then you can take those baby steps to feeling, to reconnecting to your body, to fully understand what embodiment means. I do believe that our body knows everything first before we do, even though we get in our heads and we think we know it from there, but it's our bodies that is the truth serum of what's going on in our life. And, I thought I was doing pretty good with all that. I was doing the work, whatever. And then COVID hit, and this fear that I had about keeping my business alive and staying healthy and all the clients that came into the salon and my team safe it turned into another trauma, another thing that triggered that fear response in my body. And honestly, my body at that time tried to tell me when we reopened after COVID, because it gave me some weird, strange allergies that made me get out from behind the chair. I had to change my diet, all kinds of things. It was begging me to slow down. And I did for about a minute. And that's when I decided to close my business. I'm like, that's it. I'm done. Now it's about me. I need to take care of my body. I need to figure out what's going on with me. And then my mother had dementia, and her dementia started getting really bad. And again, I threw myself into taking care of her. I didn't ask for any help. It was just me. I was running around like a crazy person. She was still in her apartment. I slept with the cameras on, always getting notifications when she was up walking around, trying to leave her apartment. So again, I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't eating, and I wasn't asking for help. Key, I was not asking for help. So I threw myself into the same situation that I was in with my sister-in-law. And it's very hard because when you love people, you do what you have to do, but it's going to be hard, but you got to learn how to incorporate taking care of yourself some way. I ended up having to put my mother in a nursing home, and that was after multiple falls, multiple chaos, after a memory care assisted living. And so about a month after she went into the nursing home, that's when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that was September of 2023. And then things got real different because I had to ask for help. I couldn't do anything. Chemo took me out. Took me out like nothing had ever taken me out before in my life, which was scary because I just didn't expect that. I thought I was going to breeze through it or be able to push through it like I did everything else in my life. So things were different. I had to ask for help, and I needed to focus on me. I had to reconnect with my body. I had to feel all the hard feelings. The second I was diagnosed, the first thing I knew was that I needed to keep my body calm, keep my mind calm. So whatever I had to do that, that's what I did. I had to take care of my body or my body was going to get me. So the point is, I really didn't know how disconnected I still was and how easily I slipped back into my old patterns. I meditated before I got out of bed, deep breathing, movement, stretching, whatever I could do because I was very sick, but whatever I could do, I couldn't be where there was any drama or anything. My body was on edge and I had to keep it safe, basically. So like all of these podcasts, that's great, Kim, a little storytelling, but what can you do to reconnect with your body in a safe way? Like, how can you feel safe in your body? One thing you can start with is sensory awareness. So like, what do you see around you? What do you hear? Are the birds chirping outside? Is the landscaper outside? Cars going by? Stuff like that. Like, what do you smell? Do you smell the lilacs in the spring? It's my favorite smell. A yummy meal. Also one of my favorite smells. When you do this kind of sensory awareness, and that is like really being present in that sound or that smell, you're bringing everything into the present without driving into hard emotions or trauma. You're not telling your story. You're not doing that. You're just bringing your body into the present moment. If you've taken a yoga class, most of us have, you put your hand on your heart and you put one hand on your belly and you've felt your breath. This kind of signal or movement sends a signal of safety to your nervous system, and you can do it for just 30 seconds. It doesn't have to be for hours. And you can do it multiple times in the day. I had somebody tell me that it's better to do it multiple times a day than try to force yourself to sit there for 20 minutes and meditate. Anytime you can step out of your head and into your body, no matter how long it is, that's going to be better and better every time you do it. When you move in small intentional ways, like you sway side to side, or you can roll your shoulders or stretch your arms over your head. Same thing, 30 seconds. It's tiny, tiny little movements that move that stuck energy or that trauma in your body. It starts to kind of, shall we say, flush it out. You can hum, sing, or exhale with sound. All weird, I know. Feels weird, but I love singing in the car. I mean, I really think that I have a good voice in the car. My partner Dave would tell you otherwise. He comes from one of the most musical families, and he tells me I have one tone. And most recently told me that I sounded like Lemmy on Motorhead. What a guy. In my mind, I'm Pink. And when I'm singing, I sound like Pink, just like her. So you know what? It doesn't matter. Belt that music out no matter what and sing your little heart out because it's going to feel good. And it doesn't matter who's watching, who's listening. Just do it. So like, why does this stuff work? Again, it's so simple, but it's another way to regulate your nervous system. Because I truly believe once you learn how to regulate that, the rest will fall into place. The connection will slowly happen and the disconnection will slowly go away. At the end of the day, you can do a body scan. I do this at night when I go to bed. I just lay there and I'm like, okay, don't try to fix anything. You're just feeling the sensation, noticing what goes on in your body. Maybe you get your eyebrows raised or again, your jaw's clenched or your head's not on the pillow. You're not fully relaxed. You're creating a habit of noticing. That's it. You're not needing to solve anything. You're just noticing. If you feel like you want to do a couple of deep breaths, you want to hum, you want to do something to get yourself in that relaxed state, then do it. But you're just developing an awareness. Aside from that body scan, there are exercises that support embodiment and our nervous system and they're super trauma friendly, shall we say. So yoga, of course, is one of the main ones. Walking, especially if you can get out in nature, even if it's 10 minutes. Nature is the most healing thing in the world. I'm going to say Qigong, which I'm just starting to get into, and you've probably seen it. It's spelled Q-U-I-G-O-N-G, I believe. It's gentle movements that combine breathing and meditation. So something like that. Dance. I dance around the house all the time too, just like when I'm singing. Dance by yourself if you want. Nobody cares. I prefer to dance in a classic 90s fashion. And I just found out about this early bird clubbing thing that goes from 6 to 10 it's for ladies only. And they go to different cities and I'm waiting for them to come to Boston. I can put the link in the show notes if you want to know. And it's about going out with your girlfriends from 6 to 10, getting home early and dancing your little heart out. I am all for it. One of my favorite things to do is rebounding, which is a little mini trampoline. I love it. I feel so good when I get off of that thing, and I might do it for 10 minutes. I might go on it multiple times in the course of the day just for a minute. It feels so good, and it's so important for our lymphatic system. This is the system in our body that is essential for detox, immunity, inflammation, but it doesn't have an internal pump. If we've had like trauma or stagnation, like we haven't moved or stress, it can actually slow it down, which wreaks havoc. So movement, breath, that keeps it moving. So that like rebounding is one of the best things because it moves that lymphatic system. And it's the one thing that actually strengthens our bones, that like bouncing, that jumping. I mean, I just feel amazing afterwards. The important thing is to choose whatever movement feels right for you, which is going to be different for everybody. Does it all feel weird at first? Yeah. Yeah, it does. And let me tell you, I have taken so many workshops and classes that have us crawling across the floor, jumping on chairs, feeling the walls, breathing with weird noises. And as awkward as it is, it feels amazing when I leave. It's so weird and so foreign, but yet feels amazing. And sometimes that's the stuff that can hold us back. We're so worried about what other people are going to think that we don't do anything at all. And I've been there. I have. But seriously, who cares? You are your top priority. Your health is your priority, not what people think. So there's going to be some things what not to do to regulate the nervous system too. So let's talk about that. High interval training, also known as HIIT workouts. This can mimic a fight or flight response. So it's not something I would recommend doing when you're in that survival flight or fight response. It's like sensory overload, heavy breathing, rapid heart rate, and can actually cause you to disconnect from your body, which is all the stuff that I did because I loved being disconnected. Extreme endurance workouts, that can be a form of numbing. out of punishment. And yes, this was me 100%. And some trauma survivors like myself use this type of intensity to actually feel something. It's totally me. You're pushing so hard that it hurts because you want to feel something. So anything that emphasizes like pushing through the pain, or it feels like a punishment, or that you should be punishing your body, or something that you feel like needs to fix your body, you want to avoid those things. The key is when you're doing something, like asking yourself, do I feel connected? Do I not feel connected? Am I avoiding feeling something? That's why the gentle movements help you reconnect with your body. It feels good. Reconnecting to your body can feel a little bit like learning a new language, but be patient with yourself. As I always say, show yourself some grace. Your body most likely has been protecting yourself from feeling for a crap ton of years. With embodiment, with reconnecting to your body, it's gonna take practice and patience. You do not need to force it. Small, tiny movements can make a massive impact. And remember, you do not need to fix anything, ever. You are not broken. You never have been, and you never will be. You are perfect just as you are. You are exactly where you're supposed to be in your life. We do things, we make changes, we grow when we're ready, and not a second sooner. Your body will tell you exactly what it needs and when it needs it. On that note, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. Please give us a review. It really helps get the podcast out there. We are growing. It's very exciting. So your support means the world to me. I look forward to seeing you next time in the Survivor's Chair. Thank you for tuning into the Survivor's Chair podcast. You can head over to my website, www.kimrussellpro.com. That's KIMRUSSELLPRO.com. You can catch up on my blogs. Follow me on social, on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or TikTok. All the links will be in the show notes, and I'll see you next time in the Survivor's Chair.